Okay, you want to talk?
No.
Oh. We're talking.
We are.
Look at us.
That's it? Okay. I hate sound checks.
we're
It's
going.
too much pressure.
Should we go?
Is it?
Yeah.
The sound check is too much pressure?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I just have to like say stuff
Be
on the spot.
spontaneous,
It's like
yeah.
when that demand is put on me instantly and my mind just goes blank.
Yeah, but you could start talking about anything. You could start. There's lights that are shining on me right now. I'm standing mostly in the dark on a stage with things above me, but
Right.
I can't see them currently because I am terrified and I don't know what to say.
I guess I just worry I'll sound like an idiot.
And that's fine. It's not about who cares what you sound like. It's just about getting sound.
Right.
You can say bloop the I.
I guess that means
Blah,
my
blah.
ego is too like big or something.
Well, it's
I
hard.
don't
I
know.
understand. I'm just saying, as a sound guy, you could say whatever you want or sing whatever you want. Just try not to yell or bang on the floor too much, I guess. But
I'm imagining a sound check now where I'm just like, ah! You know, just non-stop screaming the whole
Maxing
time.
it out.
Yeah.
So should we call this RATScast7?
We could.
Ooh.
Still blanking on the topic.
Do we get to talk about the 7 deadly sins or what?
There we go.
We
7
could.
deadly
We could try
sins.
to revive that conversation, as it were.
Okay, well, do you just know them?
Yeah.
Okay. What are they?
Pride was one of them. When you talked about your ego, it was like, oh, there you go.
Sloth,
Sloth is one.
gluttony.
That's another.
Very guilty of that. I
Uh-huh.
love my food.
I think like just the obsessive alcohol that I consume without needing to. That's how I'd like to depict gluttony, because it's still consuming something you don't need into an excess.
Right.
And it could make gluttony sexy again instead of just like super obesity and grease stains everywhere.
Yeah.
Agreed. It can be applied to many different things.
Yeah.
What else? Wrath,
Wrath.
lust.
Uh-huh.
That's 5.
Greed.
Oh yeah.
Greed is good.
That was like the main topic of our last one, and I really can't think of the last one. Oh shit.
Envy.
Maybe it's because I'm in such denial about the amount of envy I have.
Are you green?
Green with envy. The green-eyed monster. Othello, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah. It's the beast with 2 backs as well.
Don't you? Isn't Iago one of your like dream roles?
We talked
Yeah.
about that a bit, yeah.
Did we? That might have been something I had to cut. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Okay, yeah, because I was asking about different, like, directorial, like, you know, what ifs.
Yeah. Yeah, Iago's up there for sure.
I think he should be on everybody's radar if you're a male actor. I mean, he's just so cool. He's so conniving. He's so intelligent.
Yeah, I don't know if
he's
I call him cool. I would say conniving is a good one. Intelligent, yeah.
He is. He's.
Well, he does have to be cool in the moment, yes.
I think he's cool. I think you want to relate with Iago.
For
right,
sure.
because
That
we
makes for
all
much better.
have an Iago within us.
Right.
It's just like, how
Yeah.
much.
I would love to play Iago, like, trying to feign innocence. Like, when he's saying, like, oh my gosh, like, he's doing this against you, man. Like, this is so
But you
sad.
kind of did that with your character Clifford a little bit. I mean, different
Yes
storyline,
and
of
no.
course.
In that one, the way I was, like, perceiving it and taking it was, like, I'm really in love with this guy. I want to get the story out there. I want to tell the story. He's saying, if you tell the story, I'm going to explosively yell fag at you. I'm going to say, that's not how I want to be remembered. So I'm seeing him just go, there's no way I would ever admit that I'm in a relationship with you. And I think that is really, it's not necessarily that I was conniving in the whole, like, I'm going to get you from the beginning. It was like, I'm in love with you. I've been in awe of you for so long. I'm trying to say, let's tell our story. Let's make it fun. Like, people won't necessarily believe it, but, why can't we say it?
Mm-hmm.
And immediately, no.
Right.
And then he's planning on killing me?
Not today.
No way, of course. Like, that's why I think he snapped. But of course, I love that Johnny thinks that it's completely different and that from the get-go. Because I think that's how it was depicted in the movie, the Christopher Reeves version, was maybe that it wasn't like that. It was more so that he could steal the work and get that great script. That's what it was all about.
What character are you talking about? From which?
Clifford Anderson from a show called Death Trap.
Yeah.
That John Eric directed. And while I must admit my bias, it was my favorite play that I've seen. At least in terms of Stageworks Northwest Productions. Should I drop the name? I don't know. We can edit that out. In terms of let me get the edit take. In terms of community theater.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good show. I think the actors made it what it was.
I think it was good because everybody kind of gave a shit. I think coming out of, LCC shows or high school, there were so many where I just felt like people were like, okay, I'm in it to be in a show, or I'm in it for this, and then they didn't necessarily care.
Yeah.
So like everybody wanted to develop their character.
Well, everybody was being professional. It wasn't about egos or who was cooler or better or more popular in the moment. And I don't know, I felt like the director cared about that production, where I see in high school, I could just feel like you don't really care. You're doing it because it's like, oh shit, we need to do another show for spring. I've been here for 20 years,
And I'm the English teacher, so
Yeah.
let's rock this shit.
Right, I guess. We're turning this one out.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't need to comment too much on it, but, there's different levels of art that you pursue, right? And there's different levels of art that you're able to pursue with the environment and the cast, right? And the crew, right? Who do you have to help you? Because it's not... No one person can put on a play. Even a one-person show is not put on by one person unless you're out on the street and you got your own video camera on a tripod that's recording the damn thing, or people watching you. But you could be a street performer and doing your performance alone. But if you're in the theater, if you're in a building that has lights and seats and people that need to be, given tickets to and whatever else, it's a whole team. So that's what it's about. Is about making a good team that's invested and interested in the art. So
Right. With you there.
yeah.
I'm trying not to freak out because there's a bee.
Yeah, if you're just joining us and didn't listen to the one previous, we're outside.
Oh, it's going
So
after the Ranier.
That background buzzing you might hear is not the bee necessarily, but the wind through the trees or perhaps the traffic above. Pretty late in this, we've probably already, missed out on people who've stopped listening because of the noise.
Oh,
Because we
yeah.
didn't mention it soon enough, but might as well mention it now. And then
Could
we
you
can move
cut
on.
and throw it in at the beginning?
Yeah.
Fun
Yeah.
fact, disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Oh, we're outside. There's rustling in the trees. There's cars. The world is our oyster, and you should let the world be your oyster too and gather outside, especially during this horrible global pandemic.
Nice.
What 7 deadly sin do you think is the most deadly? Comment below.
Perfect.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Now I have to listen to everything, so I can cut
Just
that out and
like-
put it at the beginning.
Yeah. No, this might be too hard to cut and paste.
Do it for the vine.
285.
I don't know. I feel like
2 minutes and what?
No, that's the bar number
Oh,
285.
I hate when it goes on bar.
I feel like greed's pretty bad, but then I think
Right.
envy's the worst one.
Right. I think in our last discussion of this topic, we decided that everybody arcs towards greed, but envy is a component of greed. Like,
Pride is supposed to be the mother of all sins. The reason that you sin.
See, and I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Can't you have pride in your own work?
But that was also a component that we talked about, that they're all human qualities. Like, you have to sleep, you have to eat.
right, and since everybody has those qualities, it made it easier to control them through fear and
Catholic
religion
Church,
back
right.
in the day. Yeah.
But as far as an excess and pride being more that you feel superior to people kind of instantly. Like, I come into the room and I feel superior to all these plebeians.
I see.
Like, that is unfortunate.
Pride to a dangerous
Yes.
level. Okay.
And then they all
Yeah,
attribute it to God, feeling like you're above God. You know, that was Satan's big, Lucifer, the bringer of the sun's biggest issue, was that he felt he should challenge authority.
So then I'll continue to challenge pride here, because there's a level of pride that is good. We can agree on that.
Yes.
Is there a level of envy that is good?
Yeah.
Or greed?
I think you should strive to want more. I think that good or not, envy is unstoppable. Just in the, you got your wish. What's your biggest dream right now? Rats becomes a thing. Everybody's on board with masks. It's not going to stop there. There's going to be something else you want after that. Like, you know, after your fairy tale's fulfilled, Cinderella marries the prince. That's not the real end of the story. Like, then maybe they want a child. Then maybe they want, you know, it just keeps going on and on for everybody. And I think for progression's sake, that could be an important thing. Maybe, yes?
Yeah. Okay.
That's just my take on it. Because envy is kind of a dirty thing. Greed is a dirty thing. But if you are too charitable and you let everybody take everything from you, is that the best thing either, though, right? Like, we've got limits on what we're able to actually give. We can't be just complete charity. We have to hold something that is ours.
Right, you have to have a base of which to give from.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sloth is important. Relax.
Yeah.
You know,
I
take
know.
a break, rest.
You need to
And
recharge
that's
the
so
batteries.
tough in this like capitalistic society because, you know, sloth, rest, taking time for yourself, anything that's not like producing income, you know, is frowned upon. But I think thankfully there's been a lot of discussion about that, and people are, I think, starting to get over that stigma of like mental health and just being able to take time off just for one's own betterment. So
Yeah, it's sad that the greed is so much that we're just like produce versus countries that are doing quite well, like Japan, where there's like a mandated time slot for naps at the office. Like, here's where you take a break. That's a thing. Look it up. Italy as well, when I went to Venice, between the hour of 1 and 2, everything was shut down. People take a break in other countries. They know that people should take more time to recharge. But in America, where it's all produce, not so much.
Yeah. Interesting. My naps are usually 3 hours, so I don't know if I could do that.
Right.
But I totally see the European model as being way better for the happiness levels of society.
right, because they acknowledge that it's not about the amount of hours that you put into the job, but like the quality of the work. And so having more time off gives people like a better sense of, or not better sense, but like they are more productive
They are
in
more
the in the
productive.
times that they are working.
Yeah, because they're like, I took my break, I did it.
Yeah.
Talk to Janine about breaks in the office.
Oh yeah, I know. And especially this last week, work was pretty crazy. But I have noticed that since we moved to a 4-day work week, I do tend to be more productive in times that were like unproductive. Particularly because like in the mornings we have usually at least an hour before anybody really starts showing up, and some days it can be like 2-3 hours before we really have, you know, the calls and people coming in. So I get more work done in the mornings when I personally am more productive, and then you know, we get those 3 days off, and so it feels like a longer weekend. You know, I feel like I actually have time to get things done and to rest. So the biggest challenge is just waking up so damn early in the mornings because I am not an early riser, especially if it is dark when I wake up. Like, it is so damn challenging to get out of bed and to do stuff. And then I'm always rushing in the morning stuff. And I know I need to go to bed earlier, yada, yada, yada. But thus goes that cycle.
Right. I'm also not a morning person and totally get you there.
Mm-hmm. It's like I'm not a morning person, but I like to stay up late too. So it just
yeah.
doesn't work.
Right.
Then I fall asleep on the couch, and then it doesn't feel like actual sleep. So then, you know, I'm essentially running off of like 5 hours of sleep. And that's not good when you're working those long, you know, long days. But those are first world problems, and I acknowledge my
Right,
privilege
first world,
of having a
exactly.
job and having secure employment, particularly through a pandemic. So please, nobody come at me, because honestly, I won't even respond to the comment.
I think I just decided sloth is actually the deadliest. There you go. Change my mind all the time.
Because of what I just said?
No.
Oh.
You are destroying the country single-handedly, you first world person. No, because like I was saying at the end of RATScast7 pod, blah, those didn't come in the order I wanted to, that complacency and apathy, not caring.
Oh, you think that's sloth?
Yeah, sloth is not being productive, and I'd say I am very guilty of that. I am not looking up political ways in order to better things. I'm not looking up political things that are happening. It's pretty unfortunate. Some people are watching the news, trying to get the best source and like really do their research on it. I am trying to beat a level in Tetris or do something else. I am so far removed that, like, when they were talking about things happening in Afghanistan recently, I don't really know what it's about.
Well, I think that's self-preservation to a degree.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
you know, just to keep yourself sane, because there's so much that's happening that is outside of our control, and there is only so much that we can do as individuals and people who actually understand that. You know, it's just tough to like go about daily life, because it's just like, okay, like, so like everything is cool and yet everything is terrible. Like, what? Like, you know, it's tough right now. And especially like when you know that there's so much suffering going on in the world, but you can't stop it. So yeah, I mean, I totally get it. There are definitely times where I tell him, like, I'm done with the news. Like, I do not want to watch any more news. Like, we're gonna put on a cooking show because, like,
yeah, I can't take it right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's too much. I feel too overwhelmed by all that I can't help.
Right.
But
So.
I think sure, there are reasons to ignore, but willful ignorance, I think, goes back to the heart of John Erick's discussion on terrorism and anti-vaxxers and non-mask-wearing people. However, willful ignorance can be very slothful, lazy, apathetic. Who cares? You know, this is the path of least resistance. I'm just going to be willfully ignorant. And I think there's a big danger in not caring.
Should ignorance be the 8th deadly sin?
Ooh.
Because I do think it's a sin.
Is that a part of sloth?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Willful ignorance, yes. Because you're just choosing. But there's an innocence to being ignorant of it. I didn't know. I didn't know.
I guess, but the last time I thought ignorance is bliss was when I was a freshman in high school. That's the last time I consciously remember thinking, I see the validity of ignorance is bliss.
Well,
And I don't want to judge everyone on my understanding of the world. However, at some point,
Yeah,
there
there's a
must be
line that has to be drawn.
Yeah, it goes
Oh,
back to
Shirley,
everything
you're
else.
fine.
it really does. It ties in directly with what you were just saying about, oh my God, why did it just leave my head? But like your uncle was talking about racism and how you didn't see it. You didn't see racism. And there is such a happiness in your mental state of preserving and not forcing yourself to look at the news all the time for things that are out of your control. So when you don't know that we're a horribly racist country, there is a bliss to that. When you feel like things are fairly equal, people, I mean, I'm growing up in a household with two mothers. This is so, I don't see that there's like any pushback against people trying to love whoever they want to. I think there is some bliss in that. But you're right, there is a line that has to be drawn. But I think it does intersect with your mental health and well-being at some point too. Like if you constantly look at the atrocities that you can't prevent, like how far does it go before everything's just so depressing that you no longer want to try to prevent anything?
Okay, and I'll challenge that by saying there's a difference in looking at the atrocities and acknowledging them. There's a difference in looking into why the atrocities happened in the first place and how we can prevent them in the future. And those two things are different than not believing those atrocities happened in the first place. Right? And which one is more dangerous? The one I'm concerned about are those who say those atrocities didn't happen.
And I'm saying that's more willful ignorance versus
yes.
not knowing.
And so I think that willful ignorance is incredibly dangerous
Yes.
to our communities, to the point to which I would call them domestic terrorists, because they are so mortally dangerous to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there, yes, those who don't know that the atrocities happened or that COVID is real, at this point I can't understand how anyone could think COVID is not real, but we still allow people to say they believe that and avoid getting a vaccine or wearing masks, even though they're third grade teachers. Right? So now we've just put an entire school of elementary children at risk because we've allowed somebody to say they have a religious exemption against our shared reality. So at some point those things become different, right? That person is much more dangerous than the person who just hasn't heard about it yet. And maybe the person who does hear about it will say, oh yeah, that's real, I should wear a mask. But if they say, well, that's not real, how is that not a part of domestic terrorism? And maybe they're not the ultimate perpetrators of it. They're not the ones who started the conspiracy theory. But then it goes back to soldiers following orders. Right?
Yeah, but I'm still in the disagreement of the intention. And I mean, I feel like that.
But is the intention of the followers different than the intention of the dictator who made them do it?
Potentially.
I would disagree. I would say the followers of the person have the same intention, have the same intentionality, want the same result as the leader, as the person who told them to do whatever it is.
I think you're giving them too much credit, the follower, because I think that sure, maybe they do just want whatever the leader wants, but not necessarily because they're rationally thinking about it. They just see the dictator as the star power, that they're like, I love this person. I will follow them to the ends of the earth. And
Well, yeah, cult.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
sure.
That's a little different.
But I feel
But
like
that's what-
cultism is what the
Yeah.
MAGA hats people are. That's what the Confederate flat is.
I think that's
feel
how
like
the
it's a
GOP is
giant
maintaining
cult.
power right now, is by acting like a fucking cult
Okay.
and using Trump as their cult leader.
Or Ron Tucker or whoever it is on Fox News who's helping to spew out all of this crap. They're
Tucker
like,
Carlson?
sure, I don't know names. That guy. I hate Tucker Carlson. Every time
Yeah,
he's on TV,
he's a fucking
it's just
douchebag.
so
I think we
hard.
should stay with Ron Tucker.
Ron Tucker.
They'll know.
Ron Tucker.
They'll know. The fucking douchebag racist traitor who's trying to kill as many Americans as he can.
Yeah,
Even though he is vaccinated.
but so many people watch his show and just like,
Yeah.
so I don't
Yeah.
necessarily that they have the intention of doing what he's doing. It's more that they want him to succeed because they love him.
Fox News needs to be censored
They love him.
Yeah.
because they're not actually news. That is their defense in court every time. Every time.
But I think we could make our own 7 deadly sins of America. Willful ignorance. There you go. Yes, it is awful. It is horrible. That's an atrocity. It's a sin.
Yeah.
And just pick one for lust. Cheating on your partner.
Adultery, I guess.
But I mean,
Does lust have to be sexual?
yeah.
Is that a part of lust?
Yeah, lust is sexual, but I think maybe mistrust, because there are so many open relationships that I think you can't ignore in this day and age. There's like, we're in a throuple, we're in a giant open relationship, we're in a commune, but once you break the trust, I feel like maybe, I don't know. That's a hard one to now turn into a sin, since lust isn't that horrible, unless you're spreading AIDS, I guess.
Well, right. Yikes. Yikes.
With the intention to spread AIDS.
Ugh.
Some people want it. They're like, I want the gift. You can look up online. There are people, of course, there's people who want anything. But yeah, people were actively trying to get HIV or AIDS. They're like, it's the gift. I want the gift.
Wow.
I haven't heard that.
Yikes.
You hit on some. Oh, the 7 deadly sins. Where
Of
do
modern
the
America?
7 deadly sins? Where do those come from? Where does that idea come from?
Religion.
Is that a religious thing?
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's why lust is even part of the
Roster.
sin category.
Yeah.
And is saying fuck or shit also a sin?
Not in the 7 cardinal or deadly sins that you're talking about. I'm sure, like, swearing could potentially somewhere. But I'm not sure.
They could pin a Bible verse on anything. they
Yeah, I'm
want to.
sure
Yeah.
it's somewhere in there, but I don't know. It's not one of those necessarily.
Okay. Just wondering if we should come up with our own
Like rats.
list of sins.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah,
Willful ignorance, number one.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, right. That tells you what we've been partaking in lately, I guess.
Oh shoot.
So we have one so far, which is willful ignorance.
Number 2, yes.
Did I say that weird?
Yeah, is knocking the table while we're recording, right?
Yeah,
Is that-
that's definitely a sin. I wouldn't put it in this list, I guess, but.
Huh? Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think greed would be in there too.
Could we
Category-
say it just in a different way? I think the most dangerous part of sloth could be willful ignorance.
Oh, we could say
As-
corruption.
Ooh.
Okay.
Because there are so many, like, people who hold power for so long, like, maybe even in the community theater. A Rick Little type.
This is gonna
If
have
you're
to get
listening, Rick Little, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to, stymie you, and let's cut this. But,
Yeah, yeah.
in...
I want to go
through and cut these?
That's what
Okay,
you
don't
signed
cut
up
it
for,
then.
doing
I'm
a
sorry to
podcast.
have said that. But, you know, because I don't know too much about that individual or their deeds. So I am ignorant of that. I'm not necessarily going to be willfully ignorant, but I am ignorant of what that has all been. But in any system, when you get corrupt, when you have power for too long, I'm with you.
Yeah. So that's number 2.
Corruption.
Airplane.
Ooh, something against the environment.
Pollution.
Put that for gluttony or something. Yeah, pollution.
Science denial. Reality denial. What goes with that? What's one word that...
For denying reality.
I don't know, maybe it is a phrase.
But the
Science
7 deadly sins
denial.
are all one word, right? We've
Yeah.
gotta stay with...
Delusion.
Ooh.
Yeah, because you can be delusional about our shared reality. Delusion.
Deluded
Perversion.
by... Perversion should be another one.
Maybe they're the same.
But
though, delusion.
I don't want that to, like...
I don't like putting perversion in just because perversions are tied into sexuality
Right,
and,
right.
you know, turning something into what it's not is perversion. And I don't think that's necessarily a sin. That's an art.
So delusion. Is that 3?
That's 3.
That's a good start, anyway.
Ignorance, delusion, and corruption. They're all pretty.
Ignorance, corruption, and delusion. But, so delusion could be somebody with a mental health issue,
That's true too.
Valid.
and that's not necessarily what we're going for.
Right. The reason that 7 deadly sins work as one word is that they were kind of like invented for the overabundance of something. Because anger or frustration is not necessarily a sin. It's a very human thing that happens.
Yeah.
But deciding that you're going to take it out on everybody around you or you're going to be so impatient, that's where it becomes wrath. And that's where it becomes the sin, and it's no longer frustration.
Okay. So what builds up to delusion?
What kind of indulgent word is delusion? Indulging in delusion, how do you do that? What is the word for that?
Conspiracy theories. I don't know.
Conspiracy. Conspiracy?
Just a letter, Q.
Q. Q. It's Q.
Do we have any more to add?
I don't think so.
What do you think about pirates?
Honestly, if I had the opportunity, I'd like to try it out.
Yeah. I think I'm on board.
Like,
But not like modern day pirates, like, you know, Captain Jack Sparrow pirates, you know, 1600s, whatever, 1700s, before modern technology.
pirates had a long reign.
I mean, I feel like I'm lucky because I enjoy pickles, but scurvy is going to be a big problem out there on the ocean blue.
The high seas.
Yeah, I guess, you know,
High seas where you don't get the vitamin C's.
Western medicine is the reason why I'm alive today, so yeah, I can see how being alive during that time would be
Yeah, I
less
think
than desirable.
you might. It's hard to think that you'd actually want to do any of them. Like Westworld is a fun show because it's all that fake. Who cares at the end of the day? But to actually be like knowing like that I had all of the information at my fingertips that I didn't take advantage of, to then be on a ship at sea where there's no doctor and rape is a high probability. Like, oh no, like this isn't as fun anymore.
Yeah. We should be grateful that we're alive today in like modern time as far as we're aware.
Yeah.
Um,
People always ask me, like, what time period would you want to be if you could just go back and live in one? And I'm like, I think I'm good as a gay person. Like, there's not
Yeah,
too many
I
where I'd
know.
like, ooh.
I mean, I always say if I had a time machine, I'd want to be like a young adult in the 80s because it just seemed like super fun back then. But there were also a lot of serial killers on the run, so, you know,
Yeah.
there's that. The music was pretty great.
Maybe the 60s. Fun sexual
Woodstock.
revolutions and going through the Vietnam War.
They didn't talk about STDs back then.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
I think about cars, so I go to early car racing times.
Oh, when they would like die because
Yeah.
you know they were in a little box with like no helmet even.
Yeah.
Good call.
Is that the 40s?
No, like the
Like the
tens.
teens and
Oh,
20s,
gotcha.
The 30s, the boat tails when they started to get beautiful.
Well, viewers, why don't you comment below and tell us which time period you would like to travel to, knowing that you would have to deal with whatever technology was available at that time.
Here's a fun challenge, too. If it doesn't get cut, how many times did we switch topics? Can you count them? That'll be
What should
fun
we
to-
title this video?
Does
The
it?
random ramblings of the backyard.
I like it. Random ramblings of the
Random
rats.
ramblings.
Regurgitation.
R squared.
Rat.
Or no.
We didn't regurgitate anything. Well, maybe we did
Gross.
regurgitate some stuff from previous.
Conversations.
Yeah, Ron Tuckerson was very in our minds.
Fuck you, Ron.
No, that's good though, because then like if we say Ron Tuckerson, then it's not gonna get like picked up, so it's
Right.
not gonna be like a a hit like in his PR favor.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what Colbert does? He like censors out all but the T in that one name, so that way it doesn't get like picked
Oh.
up, or to like to kind of discredit how.
I don't know. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, please don't look him up.
Except for every time that it shows up on the screen when we're watching that show.
Well, I haven't noticed that.
So is that just regular ignorance or willful ignorance? Okay, we'll end it there.
Subconscious ignorance.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm purposely putting out, like I try not to notice some people, or like the clickbaity newscast stuff, on YouTube. Like, no, I'll purposely not click on the stuff that I don't need to be supporting, watching why these racist traders are going around the country getting married to people to avoid court, circumstances that would make them, you know who I'm talking about, right? Matt Gaetz.
He got married.
Yeah, he got married so that the woman who could really put him behind bars can legally say, I don't have to testify against my
And is
husband.
she like 18?
Yeah.
Just turned 18?
I think she's a little older, but I think she was the one that helped set up all of the meets, but I'm not sure. That's just speculation because I don't know anything about the details of what the prosecutors know. But this is just another level of how slowly the system moves. Zach Gaetz, who could get engaged to this gal and say, we're going to get married in a year and a half, can get ahead of prosecutors by eloping in California 3 months in, and now they just lost one of their leverage points to prosecute a literal child molesting traitor who is still in the United States Congress. So they're just, the system needs to be fixed because it's clearly broken. So I guess that can be our... Let's not make that our ending. That's a terrible ending. Let's come up with some like happy note thing. You guys are much better at the happy notes. I've just been morose lately.
If you're happy and you know it, clap
No,
your
no,
hands.
no. That's worse. That's worse. Is there something good or something that made you smile in the last week?
I put it on the Rats page.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I like skimmed through that video. It was pretty cool.
The Chia Pet car.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then she was driving it, and she's like, I'm still admitting, but I've also got lots of vegetation that are kind of mitigating some of it, right? Wrong?
Well, wrong, because the weight that she put on the car just added so much more to her fuel consumption that any vegetation she put on the car would come nowhere close to mitigating the effects of that loss of miles per gallon. So there's a part of the science.
Yeah, if it was an electric car, maybe.
Well, if it's an electric car, sure, why not? Other than you're putting dirt and plant material all over your car.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be chia petting the Fiat.
Yeah.
that's
You're
for
still decreasing the amount of mileage that the car gets, whether it's electric or
But they weren't
gas.
doing dirt.
Oh, well, it wasn't dirt. Well,
It was that like.
Chia can grow on terracotta.
well, it's,
That's what
Wasn't
the
it
chia
like
pets.
I don't know Velcro or something?
It was
Or,
like a spongy kind of
it
material.
was like a cloth, right?
Yeah.
But the cloth still has to absorb some like
God, that's so
nutrient-rich
nasty.
material for the plant stuff to grow in, right? Or is it? It's just growing right on the surface of
Chia's
the.
freaking
Well, it was
magic.
like porous enough.
Like, have you? Chia grows on terracotta pots.
Yeah,
like
and
all you do.
How heavy are terracotta pots?
Is this still rolling?
Sure. Oh, I'm sure it is. There's no end to this.
Yeah, no, this is still rolling. We'll end it soon.
No, we're on Chia Pet's terracotta.
On cars,
On
which
Yeah, I know.
lowers
I
the
mean,
efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, I'm present, but I just didn't know if we were still rolling.
Yeah. Like, did we secretly? Are we going to cut this out? Like,
No, because
was
we're
there-
rolling way better than that
Oh.
Chia Pet car ever would.
Gotcha.
I mean, if it went above 65 miles an hour, the whole thing is just going to fly off. Right?
Maybe.
Maybe not.
I
That
don't.
might show that I didn't watch the entire video.
Well, I don't think she did a highway test with it,
I
did
bet
she?
not.
She does drive it, but I didn't see it on the highway.
Right, I bet it's about 30 miles an hour that she stays in the city, 30, 35 miles an hour. And you don't want to go much faster than that because then your little Chia gets a little bikini wax.
Oh my gosh.
Chia got a Brazilian. But I don't know. I don't know.
Right? Wouldn't it just start flying off?
Well, but if she attached it to she attached the fabric to the car somehow.
Sure, but the plant material is still... It's not going to take 70 mile an hour winds, is it? I don't know.
I don't know. I'd like
Maybe
to
they're
see
that
her drive
resilient.
it. Yeah, I'd really like to, because I mean, like, you think about plants that come out through concrete after just like a week of not
seed.
treading on it.
Yeah.
Like they were saying, like if everyone was to stop driving within like 2 weeks, we'd have grass coming out of lots of our roads. Or some kind of weed plant material.
So any of the post-apocalyptic movies that don't show super tall grass coming out of the roads is
Yeah,
just not
that's
accurate.
bullshit.